there, this is Paula. Welcome to Displaced Souls from the perspective of a paranormal investigator rather than a medium or from a clinical side. Journey of Souls is one of my favorite books, and then the follow-up book, Destiny of Souls, is also one of my favorite books. And it really got me interested in the actual, the quote unquote clinical process of dying and the progress of souls in the afterlife. And it helped me understand more what I was picking up as a paranormal investigator and as a psychic medium when I was on an investigation. And it really helped me hone my skills both as a paranormal investigator and as a psychic medium. So, Displaced Souls, the book categorizes two different types of displaced souls. The first one mentioned is the soul that does not realize that they're dead. Or that doesn't want to move on. The other is the soul that was so profoundly, I'm going to say, broken during their time in the physical vessel that they were in. In other words, they were just, I'm sure those of you that have watched any of the videos on our YouTube channel, BYO Spirit and Everything Paranormal, or if you've seen me on Uber Goober Ladies channel, you know I have this saying, if they were a butthead in life, they're going to be a butthead in spirit. Well, this is the butthead in spirit that I'm talking about. Those spirits that their guides have to take them and almost put them through rehab. That's what I kind of liken it to, okay? Now, I have experience with kind of both categories, and then there are degrees of categories within those two big main groups from a paranormal investigator's standpoint. Now, I was a Civil War reenactor for 12 years. I also live in the city of Manassas. Virginia was literally the center of the American Civil War. There were more battles fought here during the Civil War than anywhere else. I think followed by, I believe it was Missouri was next, if you want to know the truth. But because of that, we have a lot of displaced souls in the area where I live. And that is because of the battlefields. And it was not just the main battle. There were skirmishes all over. Plus we had, if you live anywhere near a battlefield, whether it's Civil War, American Revolution, any type of skirmish, if it was, just any type of battle, okay? Any type of incidents where there was a massive sudden loss of life, there are going to be displaced souls, okay? Think even the Pentagon and the World Trade Center. Those are two other really good examples. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, especially where a battlefield that is very highly, highly documented, both at Manassas and the most famous ones are at Gettysburg. I mean, there are countless ghosts of Gettysburg's books that have been published. Gettysburg has ghost walks all the time. There are whole businesses in Gettysburg revolving around the paranormal and the ghosts. So the first type is what we call a residual haunt. And these are the spirits that are literally caught in a never-ending loop. And they relive their death state over and over and over again because they do not realize that they're dead. So you can often, you will see numerous accounts of the same thing, different visitors, different times, over decades, literally, documenting seeing the same thing at different, different scenes, different parts of the battlefield that are reenacting the battle over and over and over again. I personally have seen several. A couple that stick out in my mind are at McPherson's Ridge. You can take a flashlight and you can click it off, real fast, on and off, click, click. And then you look in the tree line. There are no lights where the tree line is. There's no roadway behind there that would reflect lights. And you start seeing a response from the tree line, and it looks like muzzle fire. So if you know anything about military tactics during the 1860s, there was fire by file, fire by rank, and then fire at will. And as you click that flashlight on and off, you can see fire by file, which is, boom, 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 okay, from the, my right across. And then fire by rank, which is each line, because one man would kneel and one man would be standing up. The front row would fire, and then the back row would fire as the front row was reloading. And, it would go by that. And then fire at will. And you see them fire whoever got reloaded first, okay? This occurs every night at McPherson's Ridge. At Little Round Top, you can stand up there in the evening, especially, let me see, about, I want to say 10, 12, 15 years ago, they restored Little Round Top to look exactly as it did during the battle, minus not taking down the memorials and stuff like that, the statues that are there. But the tree lines, the brush and everything, they made it all look exactly as it did during the battle. And you can literally see a mist form in the tree line. You can see the Confederate line advance on the 20th Main's position. If you're standing up on the top, you can smell the sulfur from the artillery fire, because that's where the artillery placements were that were firing down. It's called enfilading fire, down on the Confederate troops that were trying to advance up the hill. And you can see muzzle flashes as they're coming up. There are no light sources down there that would generate any kind of that thing. And you literally see this mist, this gray mist, come up Little Round Top. So those are some examples of displaced souls. They don't know that they're dead. And so they replay the battle over and over and over every single night. Okay? Now, another example would be someone who was, you know, like I said, traumatically killed in a vehicle accident, maybe. That has unfinished business. Maybe they have children. They don't want to leave because of their children. So they want to stick around. They don't want to leave. They don't want to go. They have unfinished business here on earth. Now, with that being said, there is also a type of spirit that was so profoundly broken as a person here in this incarnation that needs to go to ghost rehab. Now, you can think of this type of spirit being somebody that was a sociopath, a serial killer that was just so profoundly evil, that they were just broken as a person. These spirits can also do what we call collecting before they get wrangled by the gods. And what happens is that they can collect other souls and keep them from moving on. There are also demonic entities that can do the same thing, okay? Where they are literally collecting souls to feed their energy and make them more powerful. And those souls are stuck. They can't move on. They can't do anything. And they are just literally like batteries for that demonic entity to suck off of. There is a farm over, I want to say it's a little over a 2.5 hour drive from where I live. I'm not going to say what state it's in. But there is a demonic presence at this particular place that is like a soul collector. And the people who have the farm have turned it into like a paranormal investigation business. They charge people to go through, they conduct tours, and it's kind of like an amusement park. You know, I really abhor places like this. I really do not like them. As a matter of fact, I've never been to one of these places. I don't want to go to one of these places. I have a problem with people profiting off spirit in that manner. And I know that there is a big, there's an attraction to that. But these people don't want help shutting down this entity from like harvesting souls and collecting them, because that would shut down their attraction. because then people wouldn't be messed with, they wouldn't get EVPs, people wouldn't want to come back, yada, yada, yada. There's also a place not far from where I live. Same kind of thing. It's not a demonic entity, but it is one of those broken spirits. And it's kind of bound other spirits here. It was investigated by one of the big paranormal shows. They know what's there, they know what's going on. And they chose to not do anything about it because that would shut their attraction down. Now, there's also another little subset that didn't really get addressed in Journey of Souls. And that is the soul that is bound by a couple of things. One is by malignant magic, and two is by someone's grief. Now, malignant magic can be, by, a ritual of some sort, either, satanic, a form of necromancy, it can be voodoo, hoodoo, whatever, where someone is conjuring and summoning a spirit and binding it to them to do their bidding and their will for whatever purpose, okay? You can also, in your grief, keep your loved one bound to you so that they cannot move on. It's almost like your grief makes them feel guilty so that they can't move on. Now, some of you may have heard this story when I was on Uber's live stream one day. We investigated this house near Front Royal and in Virginia, and the mother had contacted another paranormal group who then contacted us because the mother wanted whatever this thing was gone. And we are one of the few groups that will do a clearing. The 9-year-old daughter at the house was being attacked. And this had gone on for a little while, but the attacks were escalating. In other words, they were getting more violent and more frequent. So my investigating partner, Alex, and I kind of went into this a little bit blind because we didn't conduct the interview. The other paranormal group conducted the interview of the homeowner and knew a little bit more of what was going on, but not going into a humongous amount of detail. The mother, when she was 16 years old, was involved in a horrendous car accident. She was pregnant at the time of the vehicle accident, and she was actually in a coma and on life support for 2 months. During that time, while she was on life support, she miscarried a baby boy. Now, the father of the child had the child cremated, but did not have any kind of funeral for the baby. The only thing he did was name the child. When Alex and I went up to the daughter's room where most of the activity was happening, we both knew immediately that this was not your typical pissed off ghost. This was the soul of a child. I knew immediately that this child had not been born. And I went downstairs and I talked to the mother. And that's when we found out that she had had a miscarriage. Alex actually picked up on the child's name without being told what it was, came down and asked the mother, what does the name blank mean? And she literally dropped her cigarette on the floor. And that was the name of the child. So Alex and I both went back upstairs, and through a combination of flashlight sessions of yes/no questions to the child, we figured out that the child was jealous of his half-sister because he had never felt his mother's love. She was in a coma when he was miscarried. He had never fully taken possession of the body, of the vessel. The soul had not fully taken possession. So because his passing was never recognized, there was never a funeral or anything, he was kind of stuck. Add to that the mother grieving over the fact that she lost a child, didn't even know it until she came out of a coma, had nothing as far as closure. She had no funeral. The father and she had split. He abandoned her after the accident. He refused to give her any of the child's ashes. There was nothing tangible of him left for her. And her grief and guilt kept him bound to this earth, and he could not go back to the pool of souls to be reborn. And so what he did was lash out at his half-sister because he was jealous. And he was angry. So when we told the mother what was going on, she was horrified. She was like, oh my God. Alex is an ordained minister. So what we did was we held a very simple little ceremony for the child in the bedroom. We gathered around the little girl's bed because there wasn't a whole lot of room in her room. In the middle of the room was a ceiling fan that was turned off. There was a ribbon hanging from it. It was straight up and down. There was no, HVAC coming on, nothing like that, because we always turn that stuff off when we're doing investigations so that there's no contamination. There's no dust particles flying around from, the fans kicking on and everything like that. So Alex did a little impromptu funeral for the child. And as part of the service that was done, we asked for the angels to come and get the child and take him back to God and to the pool of souls, and to give us a sign that he was okay. And his mother told him that she loved him so much that she wanted him to be reborn to a mother that could show him how much love she had for him. and that he could feel a mother's love again. And then all of a sudden, that ribbon went out at about a 45-degree angle, all on its own, and then went back down. The air in the room visibly lit. I mean, you've felt a difference in the room. So there's also that type of a bound soul, a displaced soul that cannot move on. Sometimes a person grieves so hard, especially involving the loss of a child, that sometimes they bind that child's soul so that it can't move on. That grief is so profound. And you don't even realize that you've done it. So that is another type of displaced soul that I've run into as an investigator. So, and it doesn't really, it kind of fits in the ones that, you know, they don't really know that they're dead, but they kind of do. But they don't want to leave because somebody's hurting so much. They don't want to leave them, okay? So, with that, there you go. Those are some real examples of what displaced souls are. Another really big example of displaced souls, and I mean, you can look some of these up online, look at the documented accounts of places like Eastern State Penitentiary, Moundsville Penitentiary. One of the girls in our group was literally possessed by a spirit down in the Sugar Shack where a lot of the inmate murders took place. They caught it on video. This was in another group. And there was a Wiccan priestess there, and she literally took that spirit away from the other girl, and you could see the black mist going up, and it took her like 10 to 15 minutes to finally shake that spirit. And that black dark soul is one of those that when the gods finally wrangle it together, it's going to need some serious rehab on the other side and get sequestered because it was so profoundly bad, evil through its actions while it was here in this last incarnation. So if you've got any questions, feel free. You know, you guys know how to get a hold of me, especially if you came from Uber's channel. And hit me up, send me a question in chat, anything. Glad to help you any way I can. And I will see you guys later on. And until I talk to you again, be well and walk in the light, everybody.